This is Reynolds Podcast, The Creative Mindset.
Hi everyone, welcome to The Creative Mindset, a podcast about what the future holds at the intersection of creativity and technology. I am Ray Namoto, the founding partner of IronCo, a global innovation firm based in New York, Tokyo, and Singapore. Today's guest, David Charles Rodrigues, is a Sundance alumnus and Tribeca Award-winning documentary filmmaker. He has also maintained his other career as an advertising creative director. In 2022, one of his first documentaries for Netflix, Neymar, The Perfect Chaos, became the most watched docuseries globally, making it to the top 10 in over 50 countries. He has also been a successful creative director for over 2 decades, working for brands such as Apple, Adidas, Airbnb, Google, and Nike, to name a few. Creative directing, concepting, writing, global campaigns, and producing content. If you haven't listened to part 1 of my conversation with David on how writing has become a crucial part of his personal development and professional life, I've known David for close to 20 years and making things together. So I have a very fond memory of David, not just as a friend, but almost like a younger brother. We may not be related by blood, but we are related by profession and by our passion for creativity. In part 2 of my conversation with David, we dive deeper into how we as creative professionals can stay relevant as we build our careers, as technological shifts change the industry we work in. So let's get started.
We've known each other for a long time, and we've had deep philosophical, creative conversations, especially when you and I used to work together more than a decade ago. But it's been a while that you and I are having this type of conversation. How do you think about yourself as a creative professional and your relevance as a creative professional?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The reason of sustaining both is out of necessity, right? And one kind of feeds the other. One can be fed more creatively, the other can be fed more financially, and sometimes vice versa. They interchange depending on the type of project and what you're doing at the time. And in the irony, or funny enough, it's been 10 years since I've been doing this kind of dual existence. And initially, it was a way to build myself into full-time filmmaking. But then what I learned is, one, the industry of filmmaking, there's these giant gaps of time, which can be filled in many ways. But the other, the real answer is that I still really love advertising, and I've done it for 25 plus years, and I'm really good at it, and it really fulfills me in a different way. So why not do both? And they end up feeding each other creatively, where in developing films, I have that marketing brain on my side, helping me shape them, helping me set up the pitches, and even tell the stories in a way that will appeal to a mainstream audience, right? Because that's what we learn in advertising. Like, how can we talk about these, in the case of advertising, these products, but in the case of film, these difficult subject matters, and how can we express them to as many people as possible? And that's where the advertising work really helps inform my film work. And then my film work really helps inform the advertising work, where in 2 ways, right? One way, a lot of brands and companies now are really striving for authenticity and for how can we capture the realness of the consumer or of the experience. And now I'm trained to capture that realness and that authenticity in a very quick way. So that's one aspect. And then the other aspect is how to be entertaining, right? Because an ad, let's just speak traditionally. Obviously, we both, mostly do digital stuff, but in a traditional sense, even online, you buy ad space, right? So you're buying the consumer's attention. When you make content, you're fighting for the consumer's attention against the best storytellers in the world. So it really over-indexes that muscle, that entertainment factor that I then bring into advertising.
Yeah. How did you use your marketing advertising hat to make a topic like that more appealing to A, the investors, and to B, the audience?
Yep. There's a couple ways. First, speaking to a niche audience. It's the same way when you do a guerrilla marketing campaign, right? You have a brand, you have limited resources, and you're speaking to a core audience first, but you really want to broaden that audience.
Mm-hmm.
So to do that, we did two different things. One, in the PR of it all and how we're speaking about the film, and even the teaser of the film and the marketing materials, they're all focused on the cost of being a true artist, the cost it takes on your life. How far are you willing to go? What sacrifice are you willing to do to live for your art? And even sometimes die for it, because Jen died 3 times in her life, was pronounced dead and revived because of health issues, but some because of her art. And we're living in a moment right now where if we don't compromise, we can't make art. It's almost impossible in music and film, obviously in advertising, but creativity is living a moment of crisis right now. And bringing someone's story like that to the forefront, I think, is really inspiring. Has nothing to do about someone transitioning. It has nothing to do about some of the more extreme avant-garde performances they did. It has everything to do about being true to yourself and giving your life to express your art. It's the human expression of magic is really what Jen lived their life doing. And how can that inspire other people? So that's like one chapter. The other chapter in the film that I think people really gravitate towards is the family aspect. And there's a huge, like of all the shocking things of Jen's art and life, the most shocking thing in the film for both Jen's fans who didn't really know about it to the broader audience is the fact that Jen was a great dad and raised 2 incredible daughters, and they're in the film, they're a part of it. And it's that anti-artist, anti-rock star story, right? It's always the same narrative, right? You were successful and then drugs put you down and you're estranged from your kids and you're trying to, make amends with everyone. Usually the journey is the same. And Jen was the opposite of that. Jen started out very extreme and did things to get their message across and create attention. But once their kids were born, they truly shifted into making work and creating things that brought unconditional love to the world and into her own family. And I remember there was a friend of mine's father came to one of the Tribeca screenings, and their father works in the finance world, is a very conservative minded person. And they walked up to me after the film, very emotional and saying how much they loved it. And they were just so enmeshed in the love story aspect of the film. And also in this kind of new role model that hasn't really been told before of how to be a parent. So that's an aspect on how to leverage the stories and the pieces you have to make it for a broader audience, and also just to be surprising. And then from a more tactical standpoint, in every key market that we're going, we're creating a tribute party or a concert. We're bringing special people that have a wider audience to do Q&As. We're finding ways to appeal to a wider audience, whether it's a younger audience or just a broader audience, to get people to see the film and talk about the film. So for example, I'm going to Brazil right now and we're doing a tribute party, and the lead singer from that band Ladytron is going to DJ. He's doing a special set. My friend Chris Holmes, who is Paul McCartney's DJ, he created this beautiful art installation and a special DJ set for the film at Tribeca. We did a tribute concert there where we mixed all these different artists from different eras performing music for Jen in Jen's tribute. And now I'm releasing a book of the final interview I ever did with Jen 2 weeks before she passed, which is the heart and soul of the film. So all of these are different. If you put your marketing hat on, you could say it's a 360 guerrilla campaign. And most of the screenings we've had so far have been, if not sold out, or almost sold out. That's how you're able to get people there, is through these different pervasive ways of telling the story.
Yeah. Some people are even scared to stay in advertising because it's an industry that's not necessarily growing. But you are very deliberate about staying in advertising because it gives you the creative reward and satisfaction. And when I say reward and satisfaction, I don't mean winning an award and those kind of things, but emotional satisfaction and professional satisfaction that you get from producing something for a commercial purpose, working for a client, working at an agency, working for a client, and making sure that what you create helps them become successful. Why do you think there's still joy or satisfaction or meaning in the advertising side of your career?
Yeah, no, it's an incredible question. I learned, especially in the past 10 years, that there's a need of something that I feel like I'm very good at doing and that I really enjoy doing, which is giving the brands a soul and really humanizing them and truly making them a part of the communities that they want to play a role in. So that aspect of giving a brand a voice and a soul and just a place to exist in the world, and then how it can participate and grow the communities it plays in, are probably the two areas that I enjoy the most doing and that I feel most fulfilled in doing. And that can exist in many forms, right? It can be through a campaign, it can be through a brand book, it can be through a social activation or in real life experience. But last year I was able to work on one of my favorite sports brands with creating their brand vision and their work for the next few years of how they're going to behave and inspire the future of soccer players, of football players. And being able to influence that and to bring good energy and to actually create something where I feel like millions of people will benefit from in a positive way is something really meaningful to me. And I still truly believe that advertising and brands have a power to do it in a way that entertainment doesn't. The same way that entertainment has a way to connect with people and that advertising doesn't, I feel like advertising has a way to connect and build community in a way that entertainment doesn't. And then when those two worlds come together, like in the case of Gay Chorus Deep South, where it was an Airbnb initiative that enabled them to not just show the film and sell the film to Paramount and be successful in that entertainment space, it also allowed them to have a dialogue and to participate in communities in the South and in queer communities around the world where their access was limited. So that's like the dream scenario when all of these things collide.
Sure.
And truth be told, I'm still looking for the next one of those.
So let me, on purpose, take a cynical point of view. Try to uncover why you think that this distinction that you made between advertising as quote unquote funded by brands and corporations versus entertainment, which is also funded, but entertainment purely for the sake of entertainment versus advertising for the sake of corporation. But why do you think there is a place and need for advertising to exist when there's so much content and there's so much entertainment out there that some of it may be professionally produced, some of it, and quite frankly, perhaps the majority of it these days is not professionally produced. These kids, random people just taping them, filming themselves on their cell phone. And it's good enough for a lot of people to entertain, content that's good enough for a lot of people. So why do you think advertising has that, there's a need for that?
I think we, in the 21st century and this late stage capitalism that we live, for good or for bad, we create a relationship with the things that we own or that we have on our body, whether it's our phone or the shoes on our feet or the jacket that we buy. If me and you or whoever works on those brands, if we're able to give that a purpose, and when I say purpose, I don't mean social impact, a reason to exist in the world,
Yeah.
and a point of view that helps open people's minds and helps them just create a better world for themselves, I think there's a really powerful connection through product. I think product is really where pop culture is in the 21st century. Obviously, if you look at who are the pop stars of our generation, they're the tech leaders, they're the sneaker designer, Pharrell Williams is more beloved for being at Louis Vuitton than for his music. And I think, and that's the answer to that question of the power that advertising can have. So if not us influencing that in a positive way, then it'll be someone else, and maybe it won't be as positive or as good as it can be.
Yeah.
And then from the entertainment standpoint, I think what it does is it helps you deepen your emotions. It's a mirror to yourself. It's a mirror to society. It's a more, at least in the traditional sense of entertainment, right? I'm not talking about TikTok yet. I'll get into that.
Yeah.
I think it's a broader, like it's a bigger overview of what culture means to you and and then I think social media and then a product are a more intimate version of that. So we get closer to you and we're able to become a part of your universe in a more tangible way.
Yeah.
Through advertising and through product. I put them in the same category in this sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think about your own relevance as an individual, as a professional, as a creative?
Absolutely. I would be lying if I said no. What I've been thinking about a lot lately, though, is how to, and I know you get it, but how can the industry understand the value of having someone that exists equally in both worlds? So, for example, I was one of maybe not the first, having a brand create original content. The Gay Chorus case study is one of the most successful ones, or at least the one that carries most meaning in that it's in the permanent collection of the Academy Museum now. I don't think any other branded content is in there like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's not. And although what that did, though, is I ended up getting a lot of calls in the entertainment space, and it really helped my entertainment career, but I got 0 calls from the advertising space. They didn't understand the value of it. And now that there's new companies that are bringing the entertainment and branded worlds together, they're just going after the big name Hollywood directors. They're not going after the people who actually are the very few people in the industry qualified of bringing brands and entertainment together in a seamless way. And I find that just very short-sighted, and I don't understand it, to be honest.
Interesting.
So I guess it's relevancy as this new model, right? This new way is something that's been top of mind to me that, quite honestly, I've just been very busy and not able to tackle. But at the same time, it's something that I'm curious about. And I think I would like to understand it and find some sort of resolution around it.
Yeah. Do you think that even after so many years of being in the marketing industry, but also now in the filmmaking creative industry, 2-part question. One is, do you think, can you see yourself doing this for the next 20 years? And 2, if so, or if not, why?
The reality is I only think 3 months in advance. So I won't be giving you a completely, I'll be honest, but not accurate answer. I can share how I feel now about that question.
Yeah.
I think filmmaking has it's a slower burn industry. Things take longer to happen, but there's more longevity to what you do.
Yeah.
So I see that I think in the next 10 years, I will still be dividing my time and my passion equally. There will be years where one thing will be more than the other.
Sure.
The dream is to be able to either form a company or find a partner that can put me in these situations where I can do both at the same time. That's really the dream. But then if you think of 20 years, I would prefer to still do, let's just say it would go to 80% long form entertainment and maybe 20% short form entertainment or advertising or however, whatever it is by that time. Like who knows what it's going to be, right? But I would never want to lose it or abandon it. But given how each of the industries behave and just how the career time lengths of a director, producer versus a creative director exist, it's more logical that it will bend towards the entertainment side with the over the course of time.
Cool.
Thank you.
That was part 2 of my conversation with David Charles Rodrigues, a Sundance alumnus and Tribeca award-winning documentary filmmaker and an advertising creative director. Here are my 3 key takeaways from this conversation with David. Key takeaway number 1, it's okay to have more than one career. Number 2, the importance of joy in your work. And number 3, don't be cynical. Key takeaway number 1, it's okay to have more than one career, especially at the same time. It's not that many people that I know who have been able to maintain multiple careers at once. David has been quite strategic in doing both advertising, which was his first profession, and pursuing filmmaking gradually over time, but it's essentially 50-50 of his time that he spends on both careers, and he's able to balance and juggle and successfully navigate the two. A career like this still is unusual, I think, today, but increasingly more and more as the world becomes connected, the world becomes remote and hybrid, I think this way of working could become the norm 5-10 years from now, where many of us may have a full-time job or may not have a full-time job, might have multiple gigs or even a side gig that becomes our main gig. So key takeaway number 1, it's okay to have more than one career, especially at the same time. Number 2, the importance of joy in your work. During my conversation, I asked him why he maintains 2 different careers. While they might be related to each other because both professions that he has involve writing. He writes campaigns for brands and companies, and he writes treatments and stories for films, and particularly documentary films that he produces and directs. Writing is the common thread between the two, but they are distinctly different fields, and you have to be recognized. You have to have a career in each of the fields. And the answer that he gave me was actually simpler than I thought. And he said, well, because I like what I do in both fields, it's not that I don't like one thing, but because I like the other thing, that I'm keeping this thing that I don't like. And he finds joy in his advertising gig that can be difficult because you are at the whim of the clients that you work with. And because you're getting by the clients, there are certain things that you have to cater to, that you have to respect in terms of the client wishes, even if it's against your creative vision. And that's a difficult balance to strike, especially in the advertising, marketing, creative industry. But still, the reason why he's kept his advertising career for over 20 years now is because he likes what he gets to do in the advertising field, and he finds joy in it. And this may sound like a simple truth, but it was refreshing to hear from an old friend who's been in the industry for such a long time, and he still finds joy in what he does even after 20 years. Which takes me to point number 3, don't be cynical. Advertising particularly is or has become a cynical industry. A lot of people have gotten out of it as advertising as a professional industry has become less and less relevant, I would say. But the conversation with David reminded me that cynicism can kill creativity, and cynicism can kill a lot of things, including passion, enthusiasm, love, and the meaning of what you do as a professional. It's an easy thing to think about, don't be cynical. But it's actually, as we gain more experience, as we become older, it's a natural and organic tendency that we have as people, as humans, to be cynical towards either the work that you've been doing, the profession, the organization, or just life in general. But it's something that I think we have to remind ourselves every so often and tell ourselves, don't be cynical, because once you get on the slope of cynicism, it's a very slippery one and it's difficult to climb back up. So to summarize, the 3 key takeaways from my conversation with David. Key takeaway number 1, it's okay to have more than one career. Number 2, the importance of joy in your work. And number 3, and perhaps this is the most simple but most important point, don't be cynical. If you're listening to this on Spotify, there's a Q&A field, so please do send us your questions and comments. And if you like our podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating. We'll be so grateful. I'm Ray Nemoto, and this is The Creative Mindset. See you next time.